Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. And if this is your first time here, welcome. This is Essential Patience and I am Patience. In today's video, we are talking about a new budget or a way to improve your budget during these times of recession. As we all know, this is a difficult time for pretty much everybody around the world. And a lot of people, a huge number of the population is struggling, living paycheck to paycheck. So now we are looking at ways that we can improve our budgets to make sure that in these times of recession, and even times of recession that will happen in the future, because we can look through our history, recessions have happened from time to time, some more devastating than others. But hopefully in this video, I'm going to give some tips that I'm using that you can use as well to make your budget recession proof as much as possible. Everything can be 100%, but we can do our best to make it as best as we can. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and let's get into it. Number one is focusing on things that we can control. The big side of the world, the country around us, what people are doing around us, we cannot control. We can only control things that we have authority over. We can only control ourselves. We can only control the job that we're working at for as long as we want to work there or we're allowed to work there. We can control our budget. We can control what we spend and choose to spend our money on. We should focus on that. Thinking about the global world and what is going on, different policies, and if you can vote on it, that's great. But on the bigger scale, we can't control the interest rate, the mortgage rates that are happening, or auto loan, but you can control the way that you choose to participate in that. So in my mind, I am focusing on things that are directly pertaining to me. Of course, you want to think about the world around you, but when you are trying to focus, don't get anxiety trying to think about everything, because everything around the world is overwhelming. But think about how some things directly affect you. So mortgage rates are up, and that is not great. However, when I think about the fact that I'm not buying a house anytime soon, I don't have to worry about that as much. Hopefully by the time that I'm ready to buy a house, it'll be better. But until then, why be anxious about something that I'm not even participating in? Similar to auto loan rates, as of now, really high. And if you're trying to buy a car, depending on what car you're buying, it can be even higher. And as for me, I just bought a car a few months ago. And when I was thinking about it, I was getting anxious, but instead I tried to look at a way that I can benefit from it without getting so absorbed into it. So for example, I focused on the fact that I was getting a new car, I had good credit, and I was able to financially take care of it. So instead of thinking around everything, I focused on those factors and I was able to get a decent interest rate. So focus on the things that you can control. Number two is that if you haven't already done so, introduce yourself to a budget. Start getting comfortable. The world is tough, no matter how much money you make, unless you're making just an exorbitant amount of money. But most of us, over 90% of people in this world, don't have the luxury of living without a budget. So introduce yourself to a budget, a well-written budget. You can do it on a piece of paper, Word document, on an Excel sheet. Find out what you're spending your money on. Make sure that that is what you're actually spending your money on, and find leaks within your budget. Cut out what you don't need. But if you don't live on a budget and then you're wondering why you don't have money, or you're confused as to where your money is going, it's self-explanatory. You don't have a budget. Therefore, you're not managing your finances, because you can't manage what you don't measure. Number three is that if you already have a budget, refine your budget. It is always good to go back into your budget and fine tune it. You may not get everything the first time. While I make a yearly budget, I go over it several times even during the year, because things change, lifestyle changes, you may move, you may get another car, your car insurance might go up. So even though I make a yearly budget, I go in and tune it. And if something happens, an emergency happens, and I need to spend some money on it, cut out some things, or overall your lifestyle changes, make sure that you go into your budget and refine it time over time. Just as apps are always doing updating, just as jobs are always introducing new policies, you need to go in and refine your budget and make sure that it fits your lifestyle at every stage. In this time of recession, it is time for everybody to go into their budget, cut out some things, make it a fitting budget for this time. Number four is that whilst you're going through and refining your budget, make sure that you cut out some expenses. In these times where we're going through a lot of things, it is time to think about what you find most important. What are your priorities? And if some things can cut out and be left out, do it. Don't be afraid to cut out a streaming service. If you have several streaming services, cut out as much as you're not needing. Try to stick to one thing at a time. Even clothes shopping. Maybe it's time the next few months, even a year, without buying any more new clothes. I know that sounds scary to some people, but if you think about it and you already have a lot of good clothes in your closet, why do you need new ones? You can cut it out for the time being. Same with eating out. If you're eating out, you cut it out, you put those funds towards grocery shopping, and it will go much further. It costs much more to eat out every single day or ordering food in, but if you cut out your eating out budget and instead you focus on boosting your grocery budget, then you will have good quality food to eat and you'll still be able to afford saving more money. So go through your expenses, see what you can cut out, and don't be afraid to cut it out. And if you don't miss it, which sometimes if it's a streaming service or a subscription, something frivolous, you may not even miss it and you wouldn't notice. It's a win-win. And if you do miss it and you see that it's a necessity in your life, you can just add it back in. Number 5 is to not participate in the designer boom. We're in a time where a lot of college students and a lot of people who graduated from college in the past few years are living at home trying to save money. A lot of people are complaining that they're getting out of college with a lot of student loan debt and they're not able to find jobs to pay off these student loans. But we see that a lot of people who are staying at home are actually participating in the designer boom. So whilst we're in a time of recession, during even the pandemic, designer items boomed in sales, in marketing, visibility. I mean, a lot of people on social media consuming materialistic content, and this fed into people to buy these designer items. And so as we can see, if you open your Instagram, if you open any social media, you see a bunch of people who seem to be regular people who have all these designer items. And this designer boom is even continuing during the recession. And so how are you saving money living at home because you can't afford to pay rent on your own, but you can afford a designer bag, designer shoes, designer clothes, and a luxury car? This is something that if you choose to participate in, you would never have enough money because designers things are not cheap, and you will probably always be in debt if you are buying this with money you don't have. Instead, I would advise that you don't participate in this designer boom. I personally don't participate, and I choose it that way because at the end of the day, I know I have goals and I don't want frivolous designer things that are coming in and then gone the next and not even cool anymore to be the reason why I'm not financially successful in the future. Number 6 is not buying a car that you can't afford. As I said earlier, I just made that big purchase, and it's the biggest purchase I've made in my entire life. It's expensive. Cars today are very expensive. They're not even depreciating the way they historically do. But at the end of the day, that is no excuse to buy a car that you can't afford. Buying way too much car for your income is a recipe for disaster. If your car costs more than half your annual income, you need to rethink that, especially if you don't already have a paid for house, if you don't have a 6 months emergency fund, hundreds of thousands of dollars in retirement already waiting for you. That is a problem. If your net worth is heavily tied in a depreciating assets, and I know I just said that it's not depreciating the way it historically does, but it still is, and it is an asset that can any day be gone in an accident. I mean, it's one of those assets that it's not that much reliable. Don't buy too much car for your income. Make sure that a huge chunk of your salary, of your take-home pay, is not going towards car payments. And my philosophy is that while I did put my current car on payments, my next car, I'm gonna pay cash for it, because now that I have that debt, I'm not comfortable. Like, I don't know, people like roll all around in comfortable debt. I'm not comfortable in it at all, and I want to go towards a direction where I'm putting my money into appreciating assets and actual assets, and not rather than a liability. But if more than 10% of your gross income is going towards paying off a car, which now a lot of people are, because the average car note, monthly car note, is over $700 a month. People are buying cars that are so expensive and financing it over an average of 70 months. So imagine paying $700 a month for 70 months. That is way too much car. So if you can't finance it and pay for it in like 48 months and do it under 10% of your gross income, you may want to rethink that car. And number 7 is tied to this, which is focus less on being able to make payments and focus more on being debt free. And this is whether you're in debt and then you're paying off the debt. Focus less about just the monthly payments and focus more on the end goal, and do the best that you can to make sure that you're not staying in debt longer than you have to. So this is again going towards not buying too much car, maybe even not buying too much house, not putting little things on payments. People do a payment plan for everything. Now even apparently you can do it with food. People finance their computers, phones, everything is being financed. People are financed up to their necks, and that is considered debt as well. Even credit cards, people are putting so much on their credit cards and paying the minimum payments. Always think about the out-of-door price. When I went to buy my car, I was thinking, what is the out-of-door price? I don't care about the payments. They're like, you can pay for this and this. I'm like, no, I want to pay for it in this total amount, not the monthly basis. I'm thinking about the end goal. So just because you can afford to pay $100 on your computer per month for the next 5 years doesn't mean you can afford that computer, obviously. Think about the big price. Can you afford that? And if that answer is no, it's a no. Number 8 is that in this time of recession, when we're making budgets, we're refining our budgets, we're cutting out non-necessities, make sure that you put that extra money towards paying off debt. There's several methods to do this. So they're starting with the snowball method, which is seen to be the most successful method for a lot of people. Even dealing with finances in general is more emotional than we want to think about it. It's not as logical as it seems. So you may want to try the snowball method. But if you're a person that is very logical, I find myself to be very logical in that sense, and not say I'm better or anything. I'm just saying how I see myself. I would prefer to pay off high interest loans first. Personally, I don't have any of that and I don't engage in that. But if you have payments, start with high interest loan. And a lot of times those are credit cards. With credit card debt, pay it off as soon as possible. Put all your extra money towards paying off that debt. Do not wallow in it. Do not keep it around, especially now that they have paused on payments on student loan debt. Depending on what the interest is, you can go ahead and pay it off as soon as possible so that by the time interest resumes, yours will not grow because you're done. And even if it's like you have loans that are much higher, let's say a personal loan debt is like 10%, your student loan is 5%, and credit card debt is at 25%. If you are a person that can be logical, not be emotionally tied to it, start with paying off all your credit cards, paying off 25%. That will give you more cash flow when you're done paying off your credit cards, and then you start attacking the next debt. So then you go on the personal loans and then just like pay as much as possible, and then you take all that extra money when you're done and put it exclusively towards your student loan debt and finish paying off all your debt. But don't wallow in it. Don't keep debt around. Even in recession, pay off your debts. Number 9 is to build a fully funded emergency fund. If there's anything that the Great Depression taught us, if there's anything that the housing crash of 2008, the dot-com bubble crash, or even this time during the pandemic and this high recession time has taught us, is to always have an emergency fund. Of course, an emergency fund would not and probably would not allow you to ride through the entire thing without being affected. But what it would do, it would give a slower time of impact, and therefore you're more likely to survive because you have time. It gives you what a lot of people don't have: time. If you lose your job, you have time to live at where you are. You have time to get another job without everything falling apart. So strive to build a 3 to 6 month emergency fund, more heavy on the 6 months than 3 months, and then see your life just go by easier. I hear Dave Ramsey say this and I really like it. He says that having an emergency fund makes a lot of emergencies just inconveniences. So if your car goes out, God forbid, you have the money to easily go to the mechanic and get it fixed. It's an inconvenience that you don't have the car anymore, but you have the money to easily pay for it. And because of that, you're not being stressed. How am I going to get to work? I don't have money for an Uber. I don't have money to do this. It's just an inconvenience. And a 3 to 6 month emergency fund will do that for you. Number 10 is to continue investing. It is times of recession that creates opportunities for those who can participate in the market. Continue to dollar cost average across it. I'm currently doing this with my retirement funds. I'm still investing even though it is recession times. This is still a good time to buy, especially for money that you would not need for the next 30 to 40, and in my case about 45 years. So this is a good time to invest in your retirement. Continue doing that. Buy all the lows, and then one day when it goes high, you would have bought lows and it would have been worth more. Yes, it looks bad bad losing money, checking every time, and maybe you don't check every time, but make sure that you continue to invest. And this is a time, in my opinion, to stay away from risky and volatile investments. I'm not doing any of the crypto or those picture things. I forgot the name of it. But basically, I'm not doing any volatile investments. This is time to stick to what is tried and true, which is to invest in index funds and to continue doing that over a long period of time. So with that, I am bringing this video to an end. I hope this is helpful. The recession is affecting everybody. It's affecting me, I know that for sure. But these are ways that I am using to help my budget to be recession proof and to continue living decently well even during this hard time. So I hope this is helpful. Let me know in the comments section which of these are you implementing and what more are you adding to your budget. And also remember to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and ring the notification bell because I post 2 videos a week on Tuesdays and on Fridays. Come over because we have good conversation and we have a lot to talk about. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.